Hello, my name is Sammy. I'm the QOOM Tech Lead who ran today's QOOM x ACF workshop, Build a Homepage from Scratch. Unfortunately, today's recording had a bit of an issue with its audio, so I'm redoing it partially so people who weren't there could still get a little bit of a preview of how to use QOOM and how to use HTML, CSS, etc. This workshop is going to be teaching the very basics of HTML and CSS, so if you've never seen HTML or CSS before in your life, or even know what that means, you're all good. And even if you're not a beginner, I hope you can get a use of these tools that I show you today. Okay, let's continue. Today's agenda is very simple since I only had an hour. 1, we're going to get started on QOOM. 2, we're going to learn some HTML. 3, we're going to make the site pretty with some CSS. And we're going to go back and forth between 1 and 2, HTML, CSS. That is kind of the process that everyone goes through. So we'll code along and see how it goes. So if you can get ready to code along with me for the full experience. Okay, what is QOOM? As per the description on the website, QOOM is a student-friendly web app development platform with our in-browser code editor and instant collaborative editing, which currently isn't in use, currently down right now, sorry, but you could build your ideas with your team members easily and quickly. In addition, all your creations are instantly up and running, no need to set up a server. If you plan to make a website or web app with HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, try QOOM, which is the basic description. I think the best part of this is that it's instantly up and running. It's in browser code editor, so it's very easy to use. But sorry about the collaborative editing. Okay, so let's do that. Right now, let's hop over to the QOOM website. As you can see, you could look around. I'm from the QOOM Tech Leadership Program. If you want to learn more about that, you could read all its details, etc., etc. You could also look at other tutorials. Currently, we're doing the Building a Simple Website, so if you want to look at the tutorial notes, they're also there. But for now, let's take this time to sign up. If you want to pause the video here, this is where I kind of leave time for signing up. It's free for the first 3 projects, and you could try it out. But I already have an account, so I'm going to show you what it looks like. When you log in, you should come to a page that looks like this. Everything starts up with a home page and a profile, which is just your very own for every account. If you click on this link up here, you could see what it currently looks like, but we'll learn how to edit this today. But we'll do it through a different project, so you could go back and edit this however you want later. Okay. And back to the slides. Today's goal is a personal website. That is the kind of website we're going to build. And this is the example on our site and the example that I'm going to run through. But for inspiration's sake, let's take a look at some other websites that people had made, and kind of get an idea of what website we want and what kind of presence we want to build on the internet. So some cool examples. I have some down here. Let me just pull this up a little bit. Some of these take a little while to load though. You can see this one, very clean. You could see the interaction with the mouse. You could see they have certain parts. They have the name, the description. They have this little nav bar, which is on the side, which is interesting. And then all their content is on the right. And you can see their links are on the left. So it's a very interesting, ooh, there's a little, secrets, I didn't even see that earlier. But that's cool. That's one example. I'm gonna close that for now. How about another example? Whoa, okay. This one is 3D actually, but they're all websites, so you can see they're all use some amount of, if you inspect it actually, you can see how this was built. Uh-oh. Ooh. got stuck in somewhere else I didn't want to be. If you go to F12, you could see how this was built. You could see it was using this thing called canvas. But it's all inside an HTML. So this is a possibility. Maybe not one that's very close in reach, but it's interesting in itself. And then we'll look at the last one, which is much simpler and probably something that's going to look more like ours. Name, icon, image, has the content, and it's all built into these little sections. But you can see it's very simple. And this is kind of what we're kind of looking for. And I show you this one to the side. That's our end goal, but you don't have to make this exact same site. Like, there are other ways to display yourself on the internet. I don't want to make it look like there's only this site that you can use. And also, let me see my notes. And as we continue, here's the link to the tutorial, like the tutorial notes. So you, since there's quite a lot to type out, I'm going to be using some of these copy blocks of the code just to make this go a little faster. And you could use this as well for copying the code yourself, or just for explanations of what's going on, etc. Okay, back to the slides. Let me go to this tab. Okay. Okay. Next slide. Then, after we have an idea in our brain about what we want, let's lay out the structure of our website, and that is done through HTML, or also known as Hypertext Markup Language. What this looks like is now shown on the screen. You can see it right here. All HTML code is made up of a bunch of elements. You can see here in between these two triangle brackets, we have a tag and we have the end tag, which function like the delimiters we see below. It's just like parentheses or square brackets or curly braces, etc. We have the front tag and the back tag. We also see the ability to put an attribute on this tag. So we have an attribute, what we want to change, and then how we want to change it with the value. And we also see the ability to put content into this element. This might be a little hard to follow, so let's look at an example. We have the navigation of this website right here. So we can see we can go to different parts of the website. We click home, we hope that we take to this site. If we click about, hopefully we'll get shown down to about me, portfolio to portfolio, contact to contact. But this navigation all started with this nav tag, which is known as a semantic element, which is an element that has a English kind of very easy to understand name. Not all elements in HTML have this kind of name. If you've ever heard of div, that one's not a semantic element. A div can be used for any groupings of elements, but navigation is that is where the navigation is. Later, we'll change this content to be about home and portfolio contact, but for our current stuff, we just have just this basic like skeleton structure. So let's go get to writing some code, and that all starts with a new project. Let me go back to my previous slide. We'll see here, everyone should be here once they made an account. Make new project. Let's call it personal website. Oh, I need a underscore, sorry. We have our new personal website, and you can see that every QOOM project starts with everything that we'll need for today. A README file, where you could explain what you did and all the reasoning behind it, which is useful for your hackathon maybe. The HTML file. It also has a JSON and JavaScript. We will not need that for today, but we will be using this styles sheet .css. Okay. Oh, it said something. Oh, yeah. Okay. And within our HTML sheet, which is what we're looking on right now, we could see, I'm going to just break this down. Usually this doesn't start with all this stuff in every other HTML file, but QOOM starts you off with the basics. You can see at the top is your doc type. It's just telling the browser when it looks at this file, hey, this is an HTML. And you can see HTML tags embracing the head and the body. What is the head and the body? Well, the head is currently connecting to the style sheet and the JavaScript file over here. The head essentially does all the work that is hidden and not looked at, and all the behind the scenes work, and the body kind of shows the content for all the content that we see on every website. If we go back to, let's say, the QOOM website, I showed you the inspect feature of Google earlier, and you can see even here we have a head element and a body element. This is everything we see as like the cookies, the header of the navigation bar, etc., etc. We could highlight and see which thing is which. You can open up the div, very cool. But the header itself, or the head tag itself, is all this behind the scenes stuff, which kind of is hard to maybe read if you first looked at this. But this one that I'm currently highlighting is just like scaling it to your screen, which we'll do later as well. But this is all, you know, the title of the thing, all this stuff is just behind the scenes. We like when I highlight it on this side, you don't see anything on the website over here getting highlighted. Okay, so I'm going to go back a slide to get to the tutorial, just so I could copy over some code and you can see how this looks on our site. So we hop into the body. This adds the body tags, but we don't need that. And another feature of QOOM that I'm going to show you before getting to this side is the beautify this code, which automatically does all the indents, which is very, very nice. Okay, this is the code that was on the HTML slide, but this shows you navigation, header, about, portfolio, contact, footer. That's just all the parts we've talked about, that we've laid out, that we want on our site. But this doesn't look that great at the moment. And I'll show you, like, this is the nav tag. You can see this is the content which is displayed, and you can see these are the stuff that is displayed. And to kind of tell you about what ID is, if you guys had any questions about that, it's essentially, since all these sections, although it is like, oh, a section, we know what that is in English, we want to label that with its own name. So even though there's no about tag in HTML, we could label it with the identifier about. And we do that for portfolio, and we do that for contact. But footer has its own tag because it's so common. Okay, so let's make this a little more pretty. Let's get to some CSS. Oh wait, let me go back for a second. I forgot one of my notes. Going to our HTML. I forgot about talking about this. Every time we make a edit to our code, you've seen that this changes, this updates. This website is what our website is. You could also pop out the window to see it in action. You could share this link to anyone and they can open it. Let me see. Yeah, with QOOM there is no worry about deploying your site. It does it all for you, which is very nice. And you can grab it back here. Okay, yeah. I'm gonna go back to CSS now that I've finished that. Okay. Back to slideshow. CSS, or cascading style sheets, looks like such, and I put an example of what it's made up of, and this is an example of what I will copy over in a second. And you can see this has some notes about Flexbox and box model. I have some links for you to look into that yourselves. I went over it during the workshop today, but since this is kind of a preview, I'm not going to really talk too much about this. in this kind of re-recording video. Okay, so CSS is essentially if HTML was the bare bones of the house, that the structure of the building, CSS is like the wallpaper, it's the furniture, it's the, I don't know, it's the everything else that makes a house look homey and livable, and what's going to make our website interesting and unique. Okay. Everything starts with a selector, which is our tag name, ID, or class, which I haven't talked about, but you'll see in the future as you keep doing more HTML and CSS. We have some curly brackets to encase this, and then we have the properties of the element we're selecting, plus how much we want to change it by. So I'm going to copy over that code for the CSS from the documentation, and of course I have links to this on the slides if you want to check it out. But we're going to hop over to CSS. We're going to get this out of the way and just copy this over. And in a second you'll see how this updates. Woo! Now we see we have everything. Let me pop this out so it's bigger. We have everything we wanted in its own little box, and we could see that we have the nav header, and it's all nicely distributed, and its color, the background colors are different. It still isn't a great website, but you know, this is a start. Okay, let me break this down. Of course you could Google these yourself, but most of them are very you know, native English. Color is black, all the text is black, background color is white, we give it a height, we give it a width, and we could see that we do that for all of them. And we see here, previously we've seen selectors for just the tag name. Here we have selectors from an ID. When we use an ID, which is what we previously established, is we have a hashtag there instead of just the normal word, which is fun. Okay. I'm going to add a few more copies of code just so we can see how this progresses. But let me close this as well and close this. We can see how for mobile layout, we add this link, which I talked about earlier. For the navigation, I'm going to copy this over. And let's see how that looks. Sorry, I'm not going into much detail. Beautify it. You can see it has more links. And then I'm going to take this over, take to here, and I hope what you get out of this at the very least is just playing around with how putting in code and then seeing the effect. It's maybe not trial and error, but testing as you go. That's the kind of beauty of doing web development in comparison to other kinds of you know, computer science projects, is that it's so visual. You could really get into the flow of checking your work and seeing if you like it. And you see that is kind of nice, very nice. This might not be where we want to end up in the future, but you could see how we have a nav of buttons to go to each section, to the header, to the about, to the portfolio, to the contact. We will not get to that today, but I hope you guys enjoyed that. I will, if you want more further guidance on how to further this project, of course there is this very handy notes guide where it goes over each thing, from the header to the navigation to the sections, etc., etc., even going through making a contact, like a form that you could enter. And at the very end you'll get to a app that looks like this. With all the code filled out, and the site looks like this. The image stretches, it's very pretty, and you have a form, links in the bottom, etc., etc. But since this is just a re-recording, this is where I'm going to stop and just forward you all to the notes. But before I go, oh, and these are some other links that I thought would be very helpful for your CSS, especially for Flexbox and Box Model. Other helpful things to make it pretty, some free images are great at Unsplash and Google Fonts. Gives you all the fonts you could ever want. But for other uses of QOOM, I'm going to go over these. Since this is only a personal web page, I don't know how much creativity is flowing after that. I wanted to list some other uses of QOOM in the past through our tutorials. From VR web apps using A-Frame, which I highly recommend you check out, to the creation of visual novels, and more. There's a lot of other awesome tutorials to check out for your hack. Lots of other possibilities. So I hope you get some use out of this, and happy hacking! Thank you so much for watching. Bye bye!